Hello! In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to draw the fur. Specifically, I'm going to be focusing on two sections, one of which is the section right above the eye. As you can see, this is my reference photo. I got it from wildlifereferencephotos.com from Emmanuel Keller. And this is just a bit of a sped up clip. The first thing I'm doing is I'm finding lighter colors than what I see for the dark parts, like this terracotta that I'm using here. This is because the sun is hitting it, and I wanted to make sure that my markings are not just black. In fact, they're orange and brown, especially on this part because the sun is hitting them. So I filled those in like that, and I made sure that all of the markings are going in the direction of the fur. And then I noticed some more terracotta just in the white part of the fur as well, because white fur is really not white, as you'll see in this video. So there's terracotta, this is a light blue. It doesn't matter that much, in my opinion, which blue you use. Just pick some blue and just use it throughout your drawing, because blue really makes it seem realistic since the sky is blue, and fur just reflects whatever, actually everything reflects whatever is around it. And so once you've done your first layer of just colors that you see that aren't just white, you'll go with a blending stump and blend those in. And you'll notice I also use some green and a bunch of grays in this layer. A lot of the colors that you'll see in particularly white fur is, yellows, oranges, purples, blues, greens. They all exist, so just pay attention to your reference photo. See these colors, even though they might not be as obvious in the reference photo, just exaggerate them. You can do this by turning, I think it might be exposure, or you can play around with your settings in the Photos app to make everything more vibrant, and then you can see which colors you should be using in this step. And then you blend it out and go over with some really light gray, which makes them, it just makes everything make more sense. And then this is what your first layer should look like. And then after that, you start going in with, more contrast. So for the for the markings, you go in with darker colors. Like, I think this is still not black. This is, I think, a dark sepia. In a lot of the places, the black markings, especially for this cat, are not going to be actually black. So I've been using walnut brown, dark sepia, terracotta, and then I might have put a little bit of black at the bases. And then for the white parts of this fur, you'll see in a little bit that I'm going to start going over it with lighter grays, and this is an ivory that I just picked up. So I'll go over it in colors like ivory and light gray, or light warm grays. This is a walnut brown. There was a little bit of a shadow there, so I'm putting that in. To make fur look soft, you're going to want to keep blending it out. Don't do it so much that you completely get rid of the detail, but in between layers you should be blending. And then always pay really close attention to the direction of the fur. And then with markings, something I make sure to do is to go over the dark markings with the lighter color. As you can see, I am using ivory to make sure that it looks like the darker hairs are growing in between the lighter hairs, and it doesn't just stop and start. It has to transition from color to color to look natural. And so this is the white. So now I'm pushing quite hard because I have put a couple layers down, and it's getting harder to get the white to show up as white. So I'm just highlighting the fur marks that I've made already, and it looks more realistic this way. If I had just gone over with white, especially on white paper, you wouldn't have been able to see this sort of depth. So that first couple of layers and colors that look strange are really important. The same thing goes for drawing black fur. You can't use just black. When I'm drawing black fur, which I've made a video on this, I use purples and blues first and maybe some greens, and then I blend that all out, and then I'll use browns too, and I blend it all out, and then I use black, and then to highlight it I use a really, actually a pretty dark gray, and I highlight it all over. So I'm just making sure it looks soft by sort of blending the colors together with the white, and then adding some more of that blue on top. When you lose these colors that you see in the reference and put down as the first layer, you're going to want to put them back a little bit, as I'm doing right now, to keep that, vibrancy and color. Building layers like this takes a lot of time and patience, and I didn't want to do a video on the entire tiger. I didn't really have time for that, really, so I just focused on 2 sections. This is the first section, and then the other section is longer fur. It's by, the edge of the face where the puffy cheek is. And so on that one, I'll show you how to do that, and then I'll let you listen to some music while I time-lapse the rest of this tiger. And then I also have real-time tutorials on just entire portraits. So once I'm done with this tiger, I'm going to make one of this cute little bird I found on Pixabay. And it's going to be about an hour, maybe 90-minute lesson just through the whole bird, real time. So I'll try to complete it in that time. And then if you guys like that, let me know, and I will make more of those. And then if you're interested in some really long projects, like, 7 hours of something like a tiger, then I'd be willing to do that, so just let me know. And if you have suggestions for what you'd like me to do, then just let me know, and I will do that. And I'm making sure here in the tiger to overlap a bunch of the colors, so I went over with that part above the eye and made sure that that overlapped on the other sections. It's really important for making it look realistic. So as the last part of this section, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make brighter highlights by using this new pastel stick. I've talked about this one a lot if you've watched other videos. It's just another way to make really bright highlights on top of a bunch of layers, and it just makes it brighter than any pencil could do. So I recommend getting that. It's called a new pastel, or you could just get any other pastel stick. They're softer than pencils, and they can just make everything brighter. So I put that on the highlights of the white. And that's about it for this section, and now I'm going to move on to that other section I was talking about. So I'll show you on the reference photo again. It looks like this. Right there, the part that I circled, I'm going to be showing you that now. So I'm going to start again with the walnut brown and just map it out. At this point, I'm just figuring out the direction of the fur because it gets a little bit more complicated in this section. You have to make sure this is accurate, otherwise it just won't look realistic. And then make sure it's not just all going in the same direction. You have to vary the just the length and how each fur mark bends. It shouldn't be uniform at all. So for this part, I'm going to be going from almost a black color to a very white color, and I want to fade it. So the plan is I'm going from, in the end, it's going to be black, then walnut brown, then terracotta, then light yellow ochre, ivory, and white. So I'm building up layers in a way that I can fade from those colors to one another, if that makes sense. So I'll show you throughout this video. Now for the area that I'm going to be doing in white, I'm going over with the other colors that I see under, just as before, so like green and blue, and then I'll go over with some gray, and then in the place where it's going to be yellower, I'm using the light yellow ochre, and just making sure to fill in all of I want to color that whole area of the paper with colors that are more muted than they're supposed to be in the reference for the first layer. So like the darks are not as dark as they should be, and the lights are not as light as they should be, if that makes sense. And then once I've gotten everything covered, I can then blend everything. And it's really nice to blend also not just with the blending stump, but with just some sort of light gray. You can go over everything lightly and mush the colors together with that one, so that's kind of nice. This is a dark sepia, so might have forgotten to mention that. Black, dark sepia, walnut brown, terracotta, light yellow ochre, ivory, and then white. And then on top of that, there's going to be the white new pastel stick, which is even brighter than the white pencil. And that's some black right there. So that's just black because there's a shadow from the other part of the white fur that's going to be hanging on, or just on top of that, above it. And so now I'm blending the layers together. It needs to look smooth and connected, so you should be blending the colors into each other in the first layer, and then going on top of that with the individual colors. So I've blended that out a bunch. You want to be pushing quite hard when you're blending here in the first layer, because you really need to get that into the tooth of the paper if you want to be able to achieve all of your layers. It's pretty important that you use pastel matte paper during this. Probably should have mentioned that before, but it has been in previous videos, and I will put it in the description as well. I'm using pastel matte paper, and this is really good paper. I cannot tell you enough that this is the best paper. I've tried other papers, and other people have tried other papers, but this one just takes in so many layers, and also basically gets rid of the need for fixative. Of course, if you touch it, it'll still smudge, but it won't just completely take the pastel off the paper as some other papers do. And you just put some glassine paper on top. I'll make a video about this later, and or you frame it, and it's all good. No need for fixative. Fixatives kind of ruin drawings, in my opinion. And so now I'm going with the black, and you can see that it's kind of coming together now. You can see what it's supposed to look like. There's a little bit of a fade going on. You can see that terracotta. And I'm still keeping with the direction of the fur that I had figured out with the walnut brown in the very beginning. Sometimes in the first layers, I'll make the first strokes by not picking up the pencil and just going back and forth, which is not realistic, but it just helps, fill in the area faster. And as long as the strokes are going in the right direction, I think that's fine for the first layer, or maybe for the first couple of layers, and then you blend it and it looks fine. But then as you keep adding layers, you absolutely must do them in, one stroke per fur mark. Which is why it sucks to try to draw every single hair or piece of fur. So you should be thinking of the fur in clumps. Also, fur does grow in clumps, so that's also something really important to know. Maybe not that much for this particular section, but in general, when you're having maybe some hair sticking out, like when I'm doing this and having the white hairs stick over the edge and go into the black that's under it here, if that makes sense. I'll have them going out in groups. It won't be like evenly spaced fur marks. Properly achieving this layering and blending from, or transition from the black to the white as I've described, is really difficult and takes a lot of time, which is why I time-lapse this. I don't think anybody would be willing to watch me do this for hours, as each of these sections that I'm showing you take multiple hours. And so I've time-lapsed it hopefully to just show you the general way that I do it without showing you every single step, but hopefully you get the idea from this. So you need to basically, once you've gotten that first layer down, you can see all the colors. You start at the very top of whatever you're doing. I go back and forth, but you should really start at the top and put in that black, and then do the next color and go over the black. You need to make sure everything overlaps. It's really important. And then you can blend them together too really softly. And then see, I'm taking the black and going back over with the over the gray. You just have to keep going over things. It's sort of this endless cycle, and eventually you just decide that it looks realistic enough, which is what's difficult about having enough patience to do fur like this. So I'm just repetitively doing what I was doing before and putting everything over each other, and kind of blending it out with the lighter colors. This is a color shaper. It's my favorite blending tool because in the last couple of layers you don't want to lose all the detail that she put in, and the paper stump kind of just gets rid of a lot of detail in my opinion, so I like using this plastic tipped color shaper to just smooth everything out and make it look softer. And now as I've added a lot of ivory, I can start going in with white pretty soon. So I'm going to show you that, and then once I do the white, I can go with the really bright new pastel stick. But of course you don't have to do that. Again, because this is one of the last layers for this section, I am pressing down really hard because there's just a lot of pigment already down, or pastel already down, and it's difficult to keep getting really bright lines with the white. So I'm just pressing down really hard, and then I can highlight it with the pastel stick. If you guys were wondering why it's in the pencil holder thing, that's a pencil extender. It's really great. My white and blacks are usually all very short because I use them a lot, so I have pencil extenders for those so that I don't have to throw my pencils away. Actually, I haven't ever thrown a pencil away. They just sit in this little collection that I've started. So that's kind of cool. I'm so proud of this tiger. I hope you guys like it. Okay, and as I continue to just add highlights like this, I'm also making sure that they're not all straight. For this to look puffy, which this section of the fur is, I'm twisting the hair a little bit, like I see in the reference photo, just at the ends. You'll see that it's a little bit twisted and curled, you know? And so I keep adding white and making these highlights and then softening them out with the color shaper. And as I continue to do this, I'm just going to let some music play and you guys can watch and continue watching if you'd like to. Make sure to comment and ask any questions or tell me how if this video was helpful. Also be sure to make any suggestions if you'd like to see me do some sort of wildlife or teach you how to do some wildlife, do all real-time videos, do more time-lapse. Let me know what you'd like, and yep, here is the rest of the video. Okay guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned something from this video, and be sure to check out the rest of the videos that I'm going to upload. So far it looks like this. Actually, we haven't done the butterfly yet, but that's okay. And then I'm also going to do background and some whiskers, so do make sure to watch the other videos too. Thank you so much. Bye.